it, and we just need to fight really hard for freedom of speech. This is very, I think, essential to the future of civilization.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, this is why you're fighting, right? This is why, you're fighting for free speech so that we can have it in the future. Because if we don't have control of the present, we do not have control of the future. It will be in the control of somebody else, someone that we absolutely do not want to be in control of anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to chime in there, there are a lot of people in the last decade that have lost hope because what's happening in politics, what's happening in the media, there's so much frustration. And I think the most important thing that you've done here, Elon, with your steps that you are taking is to give people hope again.
Well, great. I'm really glad to hear that. And like I said, I'll do my best here. I'm definitely going to make some mistakes along the way, and it won't be perfect, but I'll also then do my best to correct those mistakes and to be, the least dumb possible. But like as I say, Vox Populi, Vox Dei, man. It's like, yeah. I mean,
it's a very white-pilling moment to have you fight this fight. I mean, a lot of us have been fighting this culture war for free speech, basically, and I think a lot of people have lost hope because they didn't see anyone caring about it, right? It's like the majority of people obviously do care, but they just don't know what to do. And yeah, it's true what Kim said. Just to echo what he said, thank you for fighting this fight. I mean, this is very, very important. It's not just you. It's not just me. It's all of us.
Absolutely, I totally agree. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like sort of, worried about the future of civilization. Just like, are we headed in a good direction? Like, and if you study history, you sort of see like the arc of civilizations, the rise and fall. There's the ancient Sumerians, the ancient Egyptians. In India and China, there've been many sort of rises and falls of civilizations within India and China, and it's just like people sometimes take for granted that because they've been in an upcycle, that things just get better in the future, and they don't just automatically get better. They actually civilizations tend to have an arc, and we want to make sure that we do not find ourselves on the downslope of that arc.
Good times make weak men, right? And we are in the good times right now, and we're seeing a lot of weak men, right? Like that's where we are in this arc, and it sucks. So let's try not to repeat the same cycle. We need to fight the cycle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, not to sort of get like too philosophical about things here, but there is like sort of a, I've had these discussions with like a lot of people, and feel like wondering like, sort of what's the meaning of life? Like, what should we do? Like, why do anything? And for some people that answer is religious, but then if you're not sort of very religious, then what is the answer? And actually my theory on that is that I sort of believe in Douglas Adams' philosophy that the universe is the answer, and we should strive through greater understanding to expand the scope and scale of consciousness, to better understand what questions to ask about the answer that is the universe. It's basically a religion of curiosity. Like let's grow into the future, expand in the future, expand consciousness, expand our understanding, and to just figure out what the heck's going on.
And it's the number 42, right? The number 42 as well. And also, don't panic and make sure you grab a towel.
Elon, thanks for joining.
Without
Speaking
giving
of
away too much, really quick, Elon, is there any way to get a sneak peek of what we can expect with the next Twitter files drop?
Well, I'm somewhat leaving this up to Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss, but I think the natural thing for would be to say, like, okay, what happened after the election, the Hunter Biden laptop stuff. And by the way, I actually don't. I this may sound bizarre, but like Hunter Biden seems kind of fun, to be honest.
I know, right? Yeah. He's an artist. Do you know that?
He seems like he knows how to have a good time.
I mean,
so I
he
don't
has a
want
sense of humor about
to beat up
himself.
Hunter Biden here, but so but just beyond the what happened after the election, how much government influence was there? There's this whole sort of move to create a disinformation ministry, which was insane. And like George Orwell is turning in his grave to hear such things. But like what happened with that, I think there was a public outcry about a disinformation
Yeah, Jack
ministry.
Posobiec started that one. He basically stopped it in its tracks because before that, nobody knew that this was even a thing, right? And he exposed it, and suddenly everybody was talking about it, and they had to shut it down because it was very Orwellian. It was like they used 1984 as a instruction manual.
Exactly, totally. It's exactly 1984 is George Orwell's 1984 is supposed to be a warning, not an instruction manual.
Yep.
Guys, come on.
And that's what they seem to be doing. They take every single, dystopian fiction, whether it's Deus Ex, I love that game, and they're like, yeah, this world looks awesome. Let's oppress the hell out of people. It's like, no, let's not do that.
Exactly, totally.
Hey, Elon, speaking of progress, you've accomplished so much. You started the first successful American car company in 100 years. You brought payments to the internet. There's a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and small business owners that look at what you do and sort of try to, follow that example and see how can they create some of that progress too. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about the layoffs because it appeared to me with the $4 million loss per day and just doing the math on the $1 billion of interest expense that $3 million of that may have been interest expense added. And I myself, running a small business, have been in a situation where, the business was going to go under in a number of months if expenses weren't cut, and what we found is communicating to employees, giving them time to process, getting their feedback, and then creating a shared vision to evolve the product, to evolve the company to a greater future was really successful. And it appears here that the typical like leverage buyout KKR approach was basically applied from a financial standpoint. For a small business owner, like, is that approach wrong? Like, did you think about taking that approach? Was that ever under consideration?
I apologize. The audio is not perfect, so I'm not fully hearing the questions. But with respect to Twitter, uh, the company basically tripled headcount in about 2 years, a little over 2 years, but revenue is flat to declining. So that there's just no way that is going to be a healthy situation. So the first order of business with Twitter was like, okay, we got to make sure Twitter doesn't die, that doesn't go bankrupt, and there is quite a lot of debt on this deal, 12.5 billion of debt, and the Fed is being extremely unwise in its very giant rate increases. Uh, I think these will go down as some of the most foolish Fed decisions ever. But anyway, so the debt's got to be serviced, um, and,
But
this is in the
KKR's
face
been
of like
loading up
declining
businesses like
advertising.
that for years. How's this
Sorry,
different?
sorry.
KKR and other private equity companies that, you know, do anything from a hostile takeover, you know, or any sort of takeover where they bid over the current price using leverage, using debt. You know, I've been following that for years, and it always results in massive layoffs. And so, as somebody who's, you
By
know,
the
one
way,
of the
I
most
don't think
creative
anybody
visionaries.
cares about that. I don't think that matters right
That's
now.
what I was
So,
gonna say. And I was gonna say, as long as they
let's
keep
just go.
moving the bar and changing the
Let's just get.
definition of a recession, we are where we
Yeah,
are, right? With the
let's
Fed.
just get back on topic here. You know, I mean, we have Elon. We don't need to talk about, you know, his investments and things like that. Elon, uh, we should send a shout out to the Twitter Spaces team because you're about to break the all-time record with this space. We're almost at 100,000 listeners
Wow.
right now.
Yes, we are, and it's holding
Talking
strong.
about
Twitter,
spaces, you know, what's the
the Twitter
strategy
Spaces
moving
team
forward?
is awesome. I have to tell you that there are really some amazing people at Twitter, um, and there's actually some amazing people who actually left Twitter in recent years, and I hope they come back. Because I think there's a potential to just build some amazing things here. So, you know, I don't want to just, I want to be exactly complimentary of some of the great work that is being done at Twitter. Um, so, you know, it's sort of, you know, it's sort of like, I mean, there's a lot to criticize about Twitter and say like, okay, Twitter is wasting money in a lot of, in really some next level ways, but also very talented people who really care about the truth at Twitter. And I'm doing my best to elevate their capabilities and give them all the resources they need. I'm very excited about community notes. This feature, you know, Keith Coleman's running it, and there's like some really first-rate engineers that are writing the code on that product that is, I think, going to be very powerful for actually fighting disinformation, not
Can we
pretending to
actually
fight
see that if we're
disinformation.
not enrolled in community notes, right? Like right now, the rest of the world isn't, right? It's just the United States and I think Canada, to my knowledge. But can you at least make it visible to other people? So even if we're not able to contribute, we can at least view it because yeah, I feel kind of left out. I'm in Malaysia, so you know it's kind of hard to see it.
Yeah, actually, I actually I asked that I sent a note to Keith Coleman saying like, hey, shouldn't we just at least make this visible everywhere? And then he said we needed to talk in person about that, but I'm not sure what.
Hey Elon, we did want to say on the Twitter Spaces during the blowout of SBF and FTX and all the other companies in crypto, there's been massive financial losses for many people, obviously. But Twitter Spaces actually became the place that drove the community together, and we've been sharing lots of stories. There were people that were suicidal because of the financial loss, and because of the community in Twitter Spaces, it prevented them taking their life. There's lots and
Yeah,
lots of
and
stories.
to add to it as well, Elon, last time, if you remember when you joined the space about Sam, that space ended up going for 16 hours, and for 3-4 days, the media was in our space, getting the news from the space for 4 days, 5 days straight, and then writing stories on it day after day. And I think Simon was there, Kim was there, so it was I think it's the first time it happens to that extent on Twitter Spaces, and we're probably doing it again today.
Yeah, and this type of
Yeah.
citizen journalism that you are enabling is so powerful, you know, because we are the news now. If people want to learn the truth, they go to Twitter and join these spaces. You know, it's like real time with experts. It's fantastic. And then we have people like you joining in and sharing their opinions and their thoughts. What is more powerful than that? The traditional media can pack and it's game over for them.
Would
Yeah,
you,
well,
Elon, would you ever consider holding a space for earnings for Tesla right here live on Twitter?
oh man, you know, I have to say, you know, Tesla being a public company, it just creates such a gigantic attack surface for legal firms in the U.S., especially these class action firms. Um, that, but in man,
Yeah, that seems like a bad
class
idea.
action reform is definitely
I've been
needed
to
in the U.S.
spaces.
This
I've
is
been to
it's
spaces that other CEOs held, and they did their earnings live right on Twitter, and I thought it
okay.
was quite amazing.
Okay, well, yeah, sure. I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
You've made Elon. You've just made two promises. You've made two promises, man. Now you've made this one, and you've made one to Kim about the You made a promise to Kim about the poll, and now you made a promise to hold the Tesla meeting here on Spaces. So just I'll remind you afterwards about it as well.
I will.
Elon,
I will
I've been getting a lot of questions.
I will do those things.
Yeah. So I've been getting a lot of questions from people who are just bombarding me just to ask you, right? Because, we're in the space. They're asking, what are you going to do about the shadow banning situation? Because, like, I'm personally search banned. I'm not shadow banned, but I am search banned. And I'm not sure what's even up with that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've only been on the job like a month, guys. So there's definitely, I've got a long list of things to do. But there needs to be a general, we need to say, like, your account should actually just tell you you are search banned or you are deboosted or whatever it is, and why and what the process is for fixing that. Now this week I should tell you that we were probably a little overzealous, and that's, if anything, that's my fault, because I'm just trying to get rid of the damn scams and spam and bots and stuff, and so in trying to stamp out or reduce the bot spam scam stuff, there will be some false positives. So that's just this week, but be taking. I know like I said, it's going to be an iterative journey towards truth and towards a healthier system. So
you just got to be patient, I think, right?
At any given point, it will be broken, but it will be moving as quickly as possible towards a good place. And I encourage people to, complain about it and whatnot, but it will move iteratively towards a good place. That's the goal. And I generally move pretty fast, so on the net, the vector sum of those decisions over time should be.
I'm losing him.
Yeah.
By the way, Kim, check my DMs. Kim, check my DMs. Kim, check my DMs, because I'm having glitches, so I might need your help with a few things.
He's back.
Elon, you're back. Elon.
Yep.
He's here.
Oh, you're back. Another question. I think you made a reference once to WeChat. I think that was a while ago, and I don't recall it correctly. Does that reference still stand today? Is that a potential vision for Twitter?
Yeah, I was just using WeChat as an example. It's not like we would copy WeChat exactly, but it's just WeChat has a lot of functionality that Twitter should have. Like, it's kind of a no-brainer for Twitter to have payments, both fiat currency and crypto, and to make that easy and simple for people to use. As we talked about earlier, adding the ability to post long-form written content and video content, and to be able to monetize that easily.
Nice to have a playlist, like YouTube does.
Yeah. But my focus in the first month, and also will be the case in December, is just making sure that Twitter is operating efficiently as a company, that it is not wasting money, because it faces challenges on the revenue front, from with an overdependence on advertising that is not targeted, like brand advertising, and in a market where advertising revenue in general is dropping, and then also when you start questioning the status quo, then various pressure groups start pressuring advertisers to not advertise with you. So that's another challenge on the revenue front. And then you got the debt, and the debt now has a very high interest rate. So it's like these are a lot of challenges simultaneously that I think we'll solve these challenges, but these are a lot of things to solve. So the first order of business is just get Twitter healthy. Make sure its expenditures are reasonable. That Twitter's like primarily a software company. There are obviously design elements, but it's primarily software and servers. And so, like, is the software team organized well? those that are committing good code, and just making the engine of engineering work at Twitter. Because if you look at, say, like, what is Twitter's evolution, technology evolution over time, excluding acquisitions, it's been very low. The technology of Twitter has been very slow. And
10 years for an edit button.
Yeah, exactly. The edit button. Look, I mean, if it takes a year to do an edit button and the edit button still doesn't work properly, then you can have a million good ideas, but they're irrelevant because you can't implement them.
So Elon, I've got a quick question for you, my friend. I was removed from the space.
Hey, I want to test my mic. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Maybe you can't. Can you hear me?
Alex, we can hear you.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll let Alex ask the first question.
Okay. Does Alex want to go, and then I can go?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can
hear you. I don't
Yeah.
hear me.
Okay. So my question was, if the Twitter files, are those also going to include other content other than the Hunter Biden laptop? So basically all cases?
Yeah. No,
Alex, Mario, we can't hear you.
This is a bit of an audio shit show. Let's try and get this back on the road. I unmuted everyone. I muted everyone. I'm going to unmute those who are not talking. Just mute yourself, please.
I would like to ask Elon a quick question.
Okay, trying this again.
I think Alex just did, and he was ready to respond. He just now would have to unmute himself to respond to Alex.
Yeah, I was just wondering if all accounts that were requested to have things taken down by the DNC and by the Biden campaign, even ones that have nothing to do with the Hunter Biden laptop, if they will also be released.
Elon, you're muted.
You got to unmute. Yeah, you got to unmute.
Yep, he's got to unmute.
Sorry. Yes. The intent is to release all the files. So there's not like anything that's hidden or anything.
I can't hear anybody.
He dropped out. Is my mic good, Kim, by the way? Is it my mic okay?
We can hear you.
You just
Mario,
sound like you are in.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Oh, okay.
Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Elon.
Yeah. You cut out. Yeah, you cut out for a second while you were answering Alex.
I mean, I think this is, this is like whatever Stasi files or, Truth and Reconciliation. Like Nelson Mandela would say, it's if you want reconciliation, there must be truth. So, that's the intent here. Intent here is to just make it clear what was happening, and provide transparency about the past, and in doing so, to build trust about the future.
Awesome. So do you think that Twitter could also have an automatic notification if anyone was, say, if their account was requested content taken down? Do you think there could be something like that implemented?
Yeah, like the VPN sites actually offer that.
Yeah, I mean, you mean if if a government has a takedown request or something like that?
Yeah.
So,
if a government
example,
says, "Hey, we want you censored," I mean, I think
for example,
even Germany would let you know, right? So why doesn't America? Yeah.
Or with James Woods, for example, how his content was, they requested his content be removed. Say if that happened from the Biden campaign.
I think both past and future requests should be made public. And sunshine is a great disinfectant, and so if if they request content takedowns that are embarrassing, then they'll be less likely to request those content takedowns. At the end of the day, Twitter doesn't have a choice but to abide by the laws of the U.S. and whatever countries it's operating in. Otherwise, you get arrested. But we shouldn't do more than that. It should be abide by the laws because you have to. And if there may be some potential to say like, well, if we disagree with the law, maybe we can lobby to have a law changed or something like that. But
So Elon, I want to ask you
I,
on this point. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, but I'm saying like the overarching goal here is that on balance that Twitter be a force for good for the future of civilization, that and for the expansion of consciousness. Like
So to that point, I want to ask you then, because I'm speaking from the European lens, what do you think about the EU's proposals over potential restrictions to the
I
use
think
of
we're
Twitter?
losing you a little bit.
Or equally, I know you had a little bit of a, shall we say, fanfare with Alex Vindman earlier this week. I was wondering if you would be interested in a space with you and him, since I know him from the week ago. We had a chat. I invite you
Oh
to
God, why
a
would anyone
debate
want to talk
if
to
you'd
Alex
be
Vindman?
interested. If you'd be interested.
But
gotta
Elon,
ask.
don't waste your time with the intelligence community, man.
Seriously,
There's more
yeah,
important
it would
I'm
things to
just
do.
be a
teasing.
waste
I'm
of time.
teasing. I'm teasing. But I am curious about your thoughts on the European Union perspective.
well, actually, there's a lot of the EU rules call for things that I agree with, which is transparency and sort of an ability for users to appeal and have a clear process. So I think the in terms of the Digital Services Act, I think it's mostly good. I think we have to watch the implementation of it and make sure the implementation is not bad for the people of Europe, but the actual I think most of what is in there I agree with, because it's transparency and accountability. It seems quite sensible. We just need to make sure that is not warped in a bad direction. But generally, I agree with it, or at least what I know of it today.
But
I
what
have a
I think
about
the
personal
the
most
question for
important
you,
thing
Elon.
is that we don't allow
Guys,
governments to define what misinformation or disinformation is, right? I mean, that is probably the most dangerous development, to give governments that kind of power that they become the deciders of what's truth and what is not.
Yeah, no, that is a big deal. I agree. That goes to the heart of the situation, is that you don't want to have governments, and especially it may not even be sort of it may not be an elected official. May be someone who's potentially a mid-level executive in a ministry who's deciding this, and who people don't even know exists and was never elected, despite being in a democratic country.
So what about
That's
the China
can happen a lot.
protests? What role do you think that Twitter can have in helping to support Iran, Ukraine, China, and other countries that are facing, technological oppression and limitation in their access to freedom of speech?
Well, I mean, yeah, like I said, we'll do whatever is possible within the bounds of the law. So,
I have a kind of a personal question, and I've been curious. Was there a breaking point that made you decide to want to buy Twitter?
man, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I was hoping you would say the child exploitation that you've done more to get rid of in the past month than they did in the past 10 years on Twitter. And I wanted to thank you for that. And I'm sorry that the media has completely snubbed you on mentioning the fact that you guys have gone above and beyond to make that happen. And Eliza Blue, thank you for your work and efforts there.
Yeah, I'd like to say thank Eliza Blue. I'd like to thank Andrea as well. We've actually had this is actually like a really good case of crowdsourcing of having people on Twitter actually help solve the child exploitation stuff. It is true. Yes, Twitter has done more to stop child exploitation in the last month than probably the last 10 years. That's insane. It kind of blows my mind, frankly. and we're going to keep doing it, and it's always going to be number one. I mean, it's like kids can't defend themselves, so we must defend them as adults. So yeah.
Back to the question by the
Yeah.
why you decided to buy Twitter.
Mario, we can't hear you.
Mario, you sound like a mosquito now.
Sounds like he's in the toilet, to be honest.
Elon,
Yeah.
do you still have plans to drop the W? Everyone is asking.
I mean, technically the poll did come out positive on that.
The
So
people have spoken.
No.
Yeah.
No, the people have not spoken. But more to my question, like, I don't think you answered that. Like, I want to know, like, what was the breaking point? I think a lot of people want to know this one. Like, what was the breaking point that made you want to buy Twitter?
Well, I mean, first of all, I suppose if Twitter had been, if I'd been able to buy Twitter sooner, then I might have actually done that. But you know, there had to be a situation where my liquidity was enough and Twitter's value was, you know, whether you know, there was essentially a closing price. Like, would I actually have buy it? That wasn't the case until recently. But I guess it just felt like it really had been building for some time. So I wouldn't say there was like, it wasn't like a step change suddenly. This is a one thing. It's not like, oh, the Babylon Bee got banned, that's why I bought Twitter. That would be crazy. It's more that there just seemed to be like this more and more groupthink amongst the media, more and more sort of towing the line amongst digital social media companies, and basically just we're traveling the path more and more of suppression of free speech, and this was just getting me concerned. It's like the trends were just very, very bad. So unless something was done to reverse this trend against free speech, then I felt, well, maybe that you know, at some point everything will just get cut off, and unless you're in agreement with whatever the groupthink is, then you're just going to be ostracized, or your voice will be shut off. So like I said, it wasn't any one thing. It was just like, okay, I think I can't exactly say why, because it's like one of those things where it's like it's just said that my biological neural nets said it is important to buy Twitter, and you know, just like with a digital neural net, you can't really exactly explain why the neural net is able to understand an image or text, but just say that the collective result of the neural net says that this is an important action, or this is the right action, and my biological neural nets concluded that it was important to buy Twitter, and that if Twitter was not bought and steered in a good direction, that it would be a danger for the future of civilization, and so that's why I bought it.
That's brilliant.
Elon,
That's
you
it, really.
mentioned the biological neural net and the digital neural net. When is Neuralink going to be ready to copy our consciousness into a
And
computer
please,
to
can I
live there
sign up?
forever?
Where can I sign up for it? Because I would love to have my brain augmented. You know, it's like cyberpunk.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going full cyberpunk at this point.
Yep.
Deus Ex.
But Elon, I
Ghost
want
in
to
the
pose the
Shell.
other side to that. I'm sure you're familiar with Doctor Who, right? And the Cybermen, and this idea of a centralized system by which you can influence people's thoughts. Is that not a consideration that you have on your radar? If you get what I'm coming from.
Well, I mean, frankly, on the neural neural on the Neuralink front, if I look at the pace at which artificial intelligence is improving versus the pace at which Neuralink is progressing, artificial intelligence is moving much faster than the Neuralink is moving, because as soon as anything gets done with humans, it gets very slow because of the danger to humans. So for the next few years, Neuralink is really just focused on restoring movement to people that have a broken neck or spine and restoring vision. So it's restoring movement and vision. It's not, uploading memories or controlling thoughts or anything like that. It's pretty basic stuff. It's like at the early days of computers,
It's basic,
Like
but it's life changing, though, right? I mean, being able to see if you're born blind, that is a gift that I don't think anyone would pass up. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and that's very doable. So, uh, what I'm saying about Neuralink is that you'll be able to see anything that Neuralink's doing. You'll be able to see coming from very far off, because you've got to go through the whole FDA device approval process. Um, that takes ages. You've got to evaluate the safety in humans, and that takes a long time. So it basically is very slow compared to the development of digital superintelligence, which is very fast. Um, Now, I do think, and I've said this for a long time, that we ought to be more cautious in the development of digital superintelligence, because this represents a danger to the public. And just as we have other regulatory agencies that oversee dangers to the public, like the FDA or the FAA, or any one of a number of FCC, there's um, you have to you can't just have companies just going hog wild on developing digital superintelligence with no oversight.
Do you potentially see this happening in a country where there are no oversights? Where the governments allow the scientists to go hog wild, as you said?
Well, look, there's the things we can control and the things we can't control, and I think there should be some kind of oversight in North America and Europe, which is where a lot of the AI innovation is happening. Um, there should be some kind of oversight beyond nothing, which is currently the case. Um, so
How
that
far
would
do
be
you
my
think we are
recommendation.
from general artificial intelligence? Like, what is your time frame, you think, until we have the big deal?
I mean, I think it's happening very fast. You've said like AGI is defined by where digital superintelligence is smarter than the smartest human. What is your definition of AGI?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once AI is able to basically program itself and understands how to advance itself, that would be the level where we need to start to worry, right?
Yeah. You, where? Yeah.
Well, to add to that, Elon, I mean, what about this? Last year after the pandemic, we had the Great Resignation, and now there's the concern about the replacement of traditional labor jobs with, AI and machine technology. I think it was you. I saw the video and the capacity for it to control things with its mind. Is there not a concern about the potential impact it has on, very menial jobs and those people who don't have necessarily the skills or ability to retrain that quickly? Just, how can we plan in advance to minimize the consequences of that?
Sorry, the audio is like not good right now. So,
Oh, no worries.
uh,
Ian, do
You're
you want
coming
to
through fine.
respond to Ian and maybe lead the conversation, Ian, because he can hear you fine, Ian?
Hey,
Yeah, we can't hear
Elon,
you, Mario.
maybe we can have another space sometime in the future to talk about AI, because I think that is one of the big topics, where a lot of people don't really realize how big the risk of AI is, and what you are always asking for is, more regulation, better rules in order to prevent the worst case scenario of,
Yeah.
an AGI taking over and basically wiping out
Like, look at
humanity in an
artists and their
afternoon.
jobs. I mean, Midjourney has basically replaced graphic artists for book covers.
Yep.
You don't need a book artist anymore. You can just do it with AI.
Not to change the subject back to the Twitter files, but Kim, I just want to ask Elon a quick question about Section 230. Are you concerned about that now, and what the government could potentially do to Section 230 as a result of the flattening that you're creating at Twitter and all the truth that you're pushing out and the objectivity?
Well, I think it is, and I did say this on Twitter publicly. It is good that we actually that the House will be Republican. It's generally not a good idea if in the U.S. if the House, Senate, and executive branch are all of one party, then you have sort of situation. So it's good to have at least one of those branches be the other party, because then they will check the worst excesses of both parties. So I think I think it's good that the House will be Republican, and at least and people interpreted that as like, oh, I must be some huge Republican or something. It's like, no, I'm a huge moderate. Actually, is what I am. It's just like I wish people were rigorously moderate, but like by its nature, being moderate does not lend itself. You cannot be. It's like be fanatically moderate, but fanaticism and
Be a
moderation
radical
don't go
centrist, as
together.
I think some YouTubers like to say, right? Be a radical centrist.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
pragmatic
Radical
idealist.
centrist. So it's just like you want to have the government pass laws that are in the best interest of the people, not that are in the interest of a small segment of the people. And so that's why I think if you have a mixture of parties in control, then they will pass only things that sort of are the intersection of sets of what both parties agree on, which is more likely to be in the interest of the people. So I think I guess I feel pretty okay about that Section 230 stuff. Yeah.
Elon,
Can you just quickly, guys? Can you hear me now or no?
We got
yeah,
you,
Yeah, we can hear
Mario.
you.
Yeah, I've got great speakers that just came up because now it's not glitching for me anymore. So I've just welcomed Clayton, Patrick, Bet David is on stage as well, and there's more speakers about to come up that all of you would know. Now my space is working. So guys, feel free to jump in and ask Elon any
hey,
questions.
thank you so
If
much.
you want to retry the co-host thing too, Mario.
I
Sorry
will
about
now. I
that,
will now.
Clay.
Yeah, I will
Okay.
now. I will now. Go ahead, Clay, and then Patrick. Go ahead, Clay.
Hey, thanks, Elon. This is Clayton from Redacted. One of the stories we've been covering on our show over the past couple of months is Dr. Shiva's lawsuit. He was banned from Twitter running for the Senate from Massachusetts. And one of the things in his lawsuit that was uncovered was the back end government portal to both Facebook and Twitter, the trusted Twitter partnership. And I know on Twitter's blog that trusted Twitter partnership between Twitter and someone with a government email address can reach out to Twitter and basically have accounts banned, taken down. Is that portal, is that trusted partnership still available to the government? And given what you've released in the Twitter files, does it make sense for that to still be there?
I got to dig into this trusted partnership thing. Obviously that has like some Big Brother vibes. So, you know, Twitter will adhere to the law, but it will not do. It's not going to go beyond the law. And if there are laws that don't seem to be in the interest of the people, then Twitter will push to change the laws to be in the interest of the people. But I'll dig into this trusted partnership thing, find out what's going on. So yeah.
By the way, Clayton, I do watch Redacted, and I love you and your wife. You're doing an amazing job, so keep it going.
Eric, Sebastian, did you have a question
Yeah,
to
yes,
raise? I'm not sure if your mic would
I
work.
do, Elon, and
Go ahead,
it
Eric.
may be a follow up to the prior question, Elon. In the Twitter, the Twitter files, the things that you found, did you find any relationship between Facebook and any other TikTok, whomever, with regards to what could be considered, the collusion with the certain political parties? Was it, in other words, was there any collusion among other social media groups with Twitter?
I've not directly seen that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I've not seen it yet. So, uh, in fact, the in terms of the Twitter files, Matt TV's read way more than I have, like by a ton. Because my priority has been just getting Twitter healthy and fixing Twitter engineering so that we can actually, you know, release features at a high rate. So, that's been my priority on the Twitter front. Is we've got to get Twitter to be in a financially healthy place, fix the engine of engineering, so we can add the features and capabilities that'll make it much better, and improve transparency and trust and all that. So, actually, I don't most of the stuff. I've read hardly any of the Twitter files. Matt TV has, and then Barry Weiss is also getting access to it, so she'll read it too.
Have you been in contact with any of the other social platforms, Meta, Google, etc., since the release of the files? Has there been any pushback, any concerns, anything at all, or it's been pretty quiet?
They haven't reached out to me, so I'm not aware of any outreach from them. So I guess, look, if I think if it turns out there's like stuff that the public should know about, then we'll put it out there. And I told Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss, hey, listen, whatever you see, if you think the public should know about it, you just post it.
With regards to the dissemination of information, so right now it's just Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss. Do you have any plans to maybe give access to more journalists, like say Ryan Saavedra of Daily Wire, Jack Posobiec? He's done lots of coverage on this stuff even previously, so I'm sure they'd love to know.
Yeah, I think. Maybe at some point we should just put it all out there, So, I think in the beginning it's good to have some coherence, and so it's not just a million stories all at once.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's a drip feed at first, and then later on it's going to be a flood, right? Because otherwise it's just too many stories, too much all at once, and then people can't really focus on anything. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, you just get drowned out in the flood of things. But I think
Yep.
once we think the stories have the critical stories have been told, then I think probably the right move is to just provide a data dump, and then people can go through it and see what was missed.
Are you surprised at all about the blowback against Matt Taibbi over the past 24 hours? I mean, a number of liberal news organizations, a lot of liberal news reporters came out and really slammed Matt Taibbi, which really was really shocking. What was your response to that?
Well, I think those people should be looking in the mirror and wondering why they were deceptive. Why did they deceive the American public? And instead of trying to redirect blame to Matt Taibbi, they should be accepting some responsibility themselves for not being truthful to the American public.
Elon, it's Mike Cohen here. Congratulations on, of course, the acquisition of Twitter. But my question to you is, how are you going to go about combating the issue of bot farms who create so much misinformation and hate on your platform?
If the last thing I do, I will defeat the damn bots and trolls.
Maybe they need like a mind virus that purges them, just makes them self-destruct.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's war out. It's war, and we're gonna win that war, big time.
Yeah, because
Okay,
I'm
thanks,
the
Connor.
confident you will. I'm
because
confident you
the
will.
So
look the extent of the hatred that these bots cause is
I agree.
astronomical, and it's really
It's
terrible. But
terrible.
thank you for your commitment to that.
Absolutely.
Can I
Yeah.
can I jump in and ask a question here, Michael
Just
Cohen?
just real quick, I wanted to say something about the bots. So there are of course commercial bots, right? People trying to do spam, but the more dangerous bots are those that are trying to interfere in discourse and
Yep.
try to manipulate the conversation, and those are primarily run by governments, right? They're run by the intelligence community in different countries. They're trying to manipulate the way people are talking, for example, about Ukraine. I think one of the more famous examples here are these so-called NAFO bots that are going out and shooting
I mean, they're
everyone
not even
down.
real people.
Yeah, often where they're mixing it, right? So the intelligence community does it in that way. They have real people, then they have bots that are fully automated, and then they even let their intelligence community employees work with Twitter profiles to chime in as well. But all with one goal, which is to manipulate the public discourse towards their goals. And I think you experienced that yourself when you spoke out for peace in Ukraine. You were attacked by these same bots.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, um, like I said, I've been on the job at a month. Um, I'm very good at software. I wrote software for 20 years, and I was very good back in the day at defeating the scammers. Um, and they, I mean, they were just like they were just the bad actors had free reign in the system before. They will not have that in the future. I look forward to that battle, and we will expose those who are acting to manipulate public opinion and shine a bright light on it. So,
Fantastic.
Hey, Kim,
That's a
if I
good
could just
answer.
ask a quick question on that same topic, because there was a point at which I was told by someone who apparently had access to this Discord server for these NATO or NAFO trolls that I was among their top targets, or even the number one target for a while. So I'm just sort of a personal curiosity. By the way, this is Michael Tracy. Elon. And um, and so, Elon, I'm just curious if you were able to detect or gauge any inauthentic activity on Twitter specifically related to this sort of pro-Ukraine faction, or was there a particular sort of system that kind of connects those actors that you were able to discern since you've taken the helm?
well, the tools that Twitter currently has to detect uh, large-scale manipulation are quite weak and need to be strengthened considerably. That's why